We are getting started into some more artwork here for the Combat and Exploration book we're building for Spelljammer supplements. Give me a moment to check my signals and yada yada, and then we'll fire this thing up here in a second. Again, a couple hours of art. So hold on real quick. Let me see if it comes through. Hours of art. Sounds like it's coming through okay. I was just posted on Twitter. If you follow me on Twitter, I'm at Phil Kearney, and I post when I'm live on Twitter. So if you want to get notification that way, you can. Honestly, the best way is to hit the bell, like, and subscribe to help support the growth of the channel. I am going to just do some shout outs across Discord real quick for me to make my signal clear, and then we are going to dive back into more artwork today. So my name is Phil. Hey, I create PDF supplements for role-playing games. I've been focusing most of my attention on 5th edition. I've published a number of works on the DMsGuild, which are linked in the description down below. Between the, 8 or 9 books or whatever it is that are linked across down there, there's about 150 different illustrations. They're all 100% free preview. You can read them all cover to cover. If you're an art enthusiast, certainly be welcome to peel them open to take a look. If you are a D&D enthusiast, you are welcome to read all the mechanics that I've published in those books. They're all 100% free preview to read. If you think they're cool, you like them, or if you want to encourage me to do more, consider purchasing some of them. The product page on a desktop has a link for full preview, and then on mobile there's an eye icon that you can click. Either way, it opens up a PDF for you to look at the entire book cover to cover. Most of my supplements have some sort of a zip file with like token assets or play mats and stuff like that that come along with it. So check it out. If you like it, grab some. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. So let's see. Let me clean up my screen so I can make sure. Here's that like button and subscribe and bell icon notification, yada yada. Let's see. When we last okay, so here is the page layouts that we have so far for the book that we're using in MS Word. Yesterday, I was having a challenge with the backgrounds, and it turned out what the problem was is I didn't properly understand the header settings. So here, you double click on the header up here, and you can see this was a 0.5 and a 0.5, which squished the text on the page by an inch, which is why this inch worth of text down here was getting punted to up here. But now you can see that it's not. So I've learned how to fix that stuff. That's great. So let's see. We've finished the first 10 out of 97 pages in the general page formatting, except for I've got a ton of little hyperlinks that we've got dotted throughout the document that whenever you'll click on it, it'll take you to the section that's referring to like the gravity field and air envelope created fill the 50-foot space as described in the Spelljamming ships section below. So that would click down to the Spelljamming ships section below, but not just here. It would click down to ship properties. So you would then be able to read about the gravity planes and the air envelopes around these ships. Oops, looks like I move around easily. Looks like I have futzed up page formatting here. Hold on. How did that happen? How did this happen again? Oh. And this time it's just mortal error. Hold on, let me fix that. There. All better now. Everything looks. Let's save here. Okay. Okay, cool. So, well, anyway, here's a cover that we created. We've got a slew of pages that have blank spots down to the pre-generated ships here on page 10, and then it dives into combat, which we've got the format. So I'm going to set that aside. Get out of here. And let's peel open. Here is page 6. Here is page 8. page 9, and page 10. So these will be what we work on today. So when we last left off on page 6, I was trying to fill this space. We are looking at, let's see. Okay, so we rebuild the orrery. The orrery is like a little, like a pocket compass, basically, that'll pop up a holographic display of all the significant bodies that are in a crystal sphere when you enter in a wild space system. When you enter a wild space system, we have dived deeper into that. If you're holding one and you're attuned, yeah, you can do that. But an orrery station is much like a spelljamming helm. It's mounted, it's attached to the vessel that you are to pilot into space. And the orrery station is either a helm, like a spelljamming helm itself, the chair, has like a little socket on it, or it's its own station, like a table or like some sort of a mounted fixture similar to a chair, and that you can then plug your orrery into. And if you do, and you focus on the orrery station, it provides a few additional benefits. While you're focusing and adjacent to the orrery station while it's active, a creature doesn't need to attune to the orrery to use it. A creature can use and see what's happening on and around the ship as if the creature were standing in a location of its choice aboard it, similar to if you were the senses that you have when you're a pilot. A creature can sense objects at great distances, as described in the exploration section below, and we do a deep dive into noticing and detecting objects in space and at vast distances. And a creature can perform actions listed under the support and command roles, detailed below in the ship role section. So we have pilot roles, support roles, siege command roles, and squadron command roles. Those are basically the 4 roles that you can play on the ship. And these roles is just action economy that you can just replace your bonus action to do this. You can replace an attack to do this attack instead, that sort of thing. So it integrates all the 5e combat mechanics and action economy that you're used to playing in a dungeon. So that dungeon is very, very large and open. Like if you're in an asteroid field, that's more like a forest than anything. So we are going to that's your orrery. And then we got signaling and new feat savvy jammer. So those are, I could potentially put those in a gray box. I might put those in a gray box. But I wanted to focus my attention on the orrery, so I'm just going to do some doodle bugging and see where it leads us. And hopefully it's some fun stuff. So I'm going to set a 20-minute timer. I think I have 100 minutes. Yeah, I have 100 minutes on the block. So congratulations to Shadow Dark for hitting $1 million on Kickstarter. Hey, Arnetico, it's good to see you, my dude. 20 minutes is a go. I'm going to grab a quick sip of coffee. I need a hot plate, you know. I think that's what I'm going to get myself this year. It's a little USB hot plate to keep my coffee warm. I'm noticing in 20 minutes it starts to chill out. All right. So, let's see. The idea that I have here. I'm imagining somebody using an orrery station, right? Like, if you anthropomorphize like I do, this should start looking like a porcelain of some sort. And then as a separate layer, I want to have the orrery itself, kind of like that. I had a really fun idea. I don't know if it's too far out from what normal Spelljammer depiction is, but we'll get some doodles in here real quick, and we'll get some doodling done, and we'll go back and play with some other ideas that I've been having. Ori like this. So I'm thinking is something like this. This is really shitty, but it's a sketch right now. So we're just trying to get ideas down on the board. We'll be able to math out how to do this shit correctly. But our job right now in the process is, since I've got 100 pages, and it's probably going to be something ridiculous like 50 illustrations. Boy, oh boy. Our job is to just get ideas on the board and sort out later on how much detail I want to dive into each piece. Some of them can be like sketchy line art, grayscale-y. Some can be like minimal color, and others can be full color. So Ori, support, and we'll call this one display. So we'll take the display and let's do something. Sometimes I do a page tear sort of look. Like I'll have here, and then I'll like just cut out, literally cut it out like that. And then I'll do something like an under trim. Like I did this, I did this sort of style in the Pacts and Patrons of Ravnica, and the Spellpoint Warlock's book as a way, and a little bit with Elemental Key. No, Elemental Key I did fades, but I did this tear effect here. I'm not sure. You know. It'd be like that. I got the text underneath the underneath the images right now. That's why I'm covering up the text. But it'd be something like that. And then potentially like that. Like it creates borders, but it does that interruptus sort of thing, that you see coming out of Wizards of the Coast, and then I could do something like take this here with a really low opacity, and like do that watercolor fade out that they do, something like that. Could do that. Not sure if that's the right thing to do or not, but it can be done. Let's take this back to here and go with 100% opacity. I don't want to do that for now, though. Just demonstrating. I'm demonstrating some of the process that could be. Right now, I'm just creating this smudge effect here. The idea here. Let's do So these orreries, as written in the Spelljammer's Adventures in Space, the Wizards product, it's like a little holographic display. When you pop open your little pocket orrery, it pops open like this little display of a system, right? And you can see what planets are in there. And, as I was saying, when you put it into the orrery station, it expands that out to like a command, like a radar tracking sort of system, so that you can see distant objects and see what's there. So we are attempting to depict, kind of like Star Wars, what that hologram would feel like. So I am spending a lot of time smudging this stuff into effect. Blend those down into the same layer now. I need the stuff to fade in, okay? Do stuff like. I mean, these colors are going to be wrong, but. Something like that. something like that. I'm not going for accurate colors right now. We'll grab a globe somewhere like Toriel or something like that and make accurate land masses. But here, grab this again. Something like maybe like I don't want any one particular piece to get too far ahead of the others because imbalance becomes an issue, especially if I start evolving in the middle of the project and come up with better ways to do things. The last thing I want to do is have half of my artwork become irrelevant or just not look as good. Like I want it to be intentional, you know? That is the wrong way to do that. Let's try this. For transform, let's do perspective. Thank you. Sorry, sometimes I really just like dive into the piece and I kind of lose track of the conversation. So I appreciate the kindness. Thank you. I'm gonna go from. Let's do this instead. Like that. Ship. But yeah, this is the gist of it. Do. That is an indication that, see, these 20-minute markers are nice because I can jump from page to page using that as a timer. So let's go ahead and do this. Then I'm gonna hang out here for another few minutes though. Hey Tyler, it's good to see you, my dude. The orrery kind of acts like a crystal ball. I mean, obviously it's looking like a crystal ball, but hopefully the idea here is coming across. That the orrery, like you make intelligence or wisdom checks that are like modified by perception, investigation, and insight. You can use those different skill rolls to try to observe things through the orrery that are detectable, and depending on how high of a roll it is, depends on how small of an object you can see at a greater distance. And it's a pretty clever mechanic. When we get down into exploration, you'll be able to see how those mechanics work out. But hopefully this is making sense. So that's the idea behind this. Anyway, I'm gonna go to free transform and bump. And like if an object is too close to a larger object, you have disadvantage on your check to notice the object, so you can hide in an asteroid field, or you can hide in the orbit of a moon, or you can hide at the back of a sensor on a giant spaceship and then float away in the space trash, because the space trash scuttles your signal so you can't quite see what they are. You know there's trash there, but then you have to go into the trash to sort through it to see, oh fuck, Boba Fett's in there. You didn't notice that until you moved, because you can't pick him out from the rest of the trash. God, Star Wars is such a great reference material for this thing. But good to see you. You know, can't make it early morning, but taking the kid brother in. Hey, right on, man. So that's the this is the idea behind this. So I have I'm trying to adhere to this 20-minute rule, but I can cheat that because there's multiple elements in this piece. So I can go back into here, and I can spend a little extra time. I don't know. What kind of a person should this be? This feels like a chick because of the way it had tits there for a second. So, feels like a chick to me. Maybe we'll just doodle something and figure out what it ends up being. Oof, she looks angry. Apparently we have an elfy vibe going on here. I'm cool with that. Or maybe gifts, or maybe like a gift Yankee. They don't spend a lot of time outside of the astral though, so. But Ori's work in the astral sea as well. It's just there typically aren't planets out there, although we do have the option for you to have planets just actually in like a whole crystal system, like a whole system in the astral. But that's weird. That's like Radiant Citadel kind of strangeness. Who would ever do something like that? We could transform. This is what I meant by spin doodling. I just kind of kick around and do little marks like that, and then we can go in here and we can start building little objects out of what it is that I unintentionally doodled in. But that's part of the detailing process, and I can really go down a rabbit hole with that process. Like you can see a belt here, and it's got like a thing over here. I don't want to spend too much time here. I just want to get the gist across. Yeah, this is how it works. Just takes focus, which is like a very minor. It's like a temporary attunement. Like while you're adjacent to an object that you can focus on, it requires concentration, but you can stack a number of different items that require focus, so that you can like pilot and oversee an Ori and be able to attack with an arcane cannon. Like those are the three different things that you can maintain focus on. And like you can't maintain focus on more than one Spelljammer at a time. And if you have multiple people attempting to focus on the same Spelljammer and pilot at the same time, then you have a spelljamming duel that occurs. And when you're in the Astral Sea, this can create astral doubt, which will muddle what your destination is actually supposed to be. Because like the Astral Sea is dictated by intention. So if you have one person that's operating the helm that is intending on a specific location, they're going to be able to guide the ship. But if you have like a group of people that are all just flying together, then every day they're doing this contest to see whose intention is going to win out. And if there's conflicts about where you're trying to go, then you could end up just being lost in the Astral Sea forever. So the DM isn't necessarily going to tell you who rolled highest, unless you want to. But you can get lost, quote unquote, lost in the Astral Sea by having a muddled signal as to where exactly it is that you think you're supposed to go. So I think that's a fun thing. I'm gonna take this. There. Let's take let's do that. Tyler was talking about the at the beginning of the session about fixing the header for the page alignment in the document. That futzed with me for about 10 minutes yesterday. So if you're interested in seeing that, I clicked open that display to take a look at how that thing gets affected. But it works great now. I understand how the header things work now pretty well. So there's a difference. You can either make like a watermark, which is like an overlay, sort of faded effect, or you can open up the header and you can directly insert an image into the header, which fills the page, and then you can just, it just treats like if I were just to drop this into the background. Anyway, whatever, blah blah blah. Something like that. And then, we don't need the whole page filling up. We can have like get all smoky and shit like that. So hopefully that makes sense. And we'll make that look like a star moth when we actually get there. But or it could be like a squid ship, or we could switch up what it is. I mean, if I have an elf looking, maybe it should be Maybe it should be the space galleon that the team escapes on in the second chapter of the Light of Xeraxis adventure. So you see them flying out on a galleon. Anyway, that's the idea behind that one, and I think I've probably invested enough time on that. So let's move on to something new. Here's a pre-generated ship list that we have. We don't end up having a lot of space up here, but we broke down. This is one of the charts I had to build last night that I was procrastinating over, but I got it finished. So we standardized. Here, take a look at this. We did a cost breakdown on the materials. So the material dictates what kind of ship it is. So you can get real expensive, like really free. And of course, this is just the shell of the ship. It doesn't include any equipment, supplies, weapons, lifestyle, or crew. So like a 250-foot vessel made of a heavy material costs 100,000 gold pieces, while a 20-foot craft made of a composite material only costs 600. Considerable difference in scales. And they only have ships that go up to 250 feet in the actual Adventures in Spelljamming released by Wizards of the Coast, but we know from second edition that there can be significantly larger ships that I will be illustrating in the future. So obviously I can get all the way up into the Spelljammer itself, which is 1 mile by 3 mile craft. Massive structure. That's its own floating mega dungeon. But we'll get there. When we're bored, we'll go back and play with that. But yeah, here's a breakdown of the pre-generated ships. You've got your cargo and towing limits that we have broken down here per 5-foot area. The carrying capacity of the frame itself per 5 feet, and then the weight of the vessel itself. And this is all laid out in here. All vessels can carry 10 tons for each 5-foot space of length. And then while craft can carry 1,000 pounds for each 5-foot space. So there's a considerable difference in the amount of carrying capacity that the things have. So you got the vessel materials here, and you got the craft materials here, and you can see. So you got the carry. So the carrying capacity of the vessel is broken down into the weight of the vessel itself and how much cargo space can be left over. And it's a pretty, we try to keep the math simple, but to differentiate between the things. Like heavy material gives you more damage threshold, right? But it has less maneuverability, and it can carry less. So it can tank better, but it's less maneuverable and it has less tow, which is why all the really big cargo ships like the squid ship and the that's actually supposed to be Hammerhead ship. But that's a typo. I have to fix it. Actually, I'm in the document, so Hammerhead. This is going to cause a problem. Anyway, Hammerhead is a composite material. It's a heavier ship, but the squid ship is a light material. And these things have the ability to cargo a lot more than, like, say, a night spider, which is made out of metal, right? A 4x4 metal versus, like, let's find another 4x4. Star Moth, yeah. Star Moth is roughly the same size as a night spider. And other than some difference in hit points, the SC stands for the default strength and constitution modifier as determined by the material. So you can scroll up here. Here's the weight and craft. Here's the material itself, its breakdown. And I actually want to scoot this. I feel like I want to scoot. No, actually, this is exactly where I want it to be. The ship's statistics are modified by material, material. You got light material, composite material, heavy material, your strength and constitution, a default modifier. Of course, your character can have better stats and override these, but by default, if the ship isn't piloted at all, the material itself dictates what its strength and constitution bonuses are for, like, things like saving throws if it gets hit by something. But it automatically fails dexterity saving throws, intelligence saving throws, wisdom saving throws, and charisma saving throws, and all checks if they aren't piloted, because there's no will. The vessel has no will. It's just an object. But you can see craft damage threshold are significantly lower. This actually complies with the with what's in Descent into Avernus, the damage threshold for the Infernal War Machines, the trucks and the cars that you can drive around in. Composite material is the default. Like the Devil's Ride motorcycle has a damage threshold of 5 as a composite material, and then like the Tormentor and the Demon Grinder and the larger vehicles have a damage threshold of 10. Meanwhile, Spelljammer has only 1 damage threshold throughout all of the pieces, which is 15. So we just broke up the materials into light, composite, and heavy. So we could have light material and we have a DT of 10, which is equal to the heavy material of a smaller craft. But a craft could get up to 50 feet in size. So a heavy craft material would be like as durable as the minimum size, like 75 feet. Like a damselfly is like 80 feet, I think. It's made out of a composite material. My bad. But I don't think they have any. Oh, here we go. This is the smallest one. Living ship is 80 feet, right? So 80 feet, light material. It has the same sort of damage threshold as a dense, like a metal frame, like the Tormentor, for example. But like if you get like a tanky something, like a Scorpion or a Night Spider, and you have to deal that much damage or not. So whenever like you're doing siege damage, like if I hit you with like a Trebuchet or a Mangonel or a Ballista, it does like D6 times 10 or D8 times 10 or D4 times 10. So if you roll a 1, the composite and the heavy material ignore that roll of 1. So if we're dealing with Mangonels and Ballistas. So that means there's a 25% chance or like a 18% chance that when you get hit by one of those siege weapons, composite and heavy ships aren't taking any damage at all. So it's decent tankiness, and these smaller craft, if they get hit by siege weapons, they're going to be hurting. But the larger vessels have a decent, the ones that are built for battle, the war ones, the armored ones have a chance of shrugging off a considerable amount of damage over the course of a combat. So that's the thought process that goes behind that. So we are playing with the space here. We don't have a ton of space. We only have like this little corner up here. So I was thinking, what was I thinking? Originally I was thinking I have a space like this, but that's not how it charted out. So I don't know, what's a fun little thing we could put in there? Maybe take it down to a low amount. Thank you, Timely Timer. Let's keep it going. Still got an hour left, right? Yeah, I still got an hour. Kind of want to... I don't know. I don't know if these are good ideas or not, but me sketching little ships sounds like a smart thing to get used to doing. I am open to suggestions here, if anyone has any, but no requirement. Let's see. What's another fun one? Shit, I don't know. I got this table here. What? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ooh. Bombards just look like giant guns. I love it. Generally, you want to have artwork looking into the page. Like you want to have things pointing towards the middle of the page, right? Like this isn't going to be face on. I could have it facing down, but that feels dumb. But whatever's on the outside edge here, I generally want to have facing towards the content inside of the page, unless I have a very specific reason to have it pointing off page, right? Just simple little sketches. I'll clean them up. But for now, you know, all we really need are quick little sketches. So if we transform, and then I can flip horizontal now, baby. Wasp is 130 and a Bombard is 140, so they're roughly the same size. Have this up here like that. I can have the Bombard down like this. Tiny little manta ray. Little manta rays are like 35 feet. Yeah, 35 by 40. It's got like a tiny little manta ray down here. We'll flesh that out. But yeah, this is the fun stuff that we can do. I might be able to squeeze in another ship over here. Let's see. That's hilarious. Hey, Fictional. How you doing, man? We're making the Spelljammer ship art. That's what we do. This is the document that we've been doing page layouts for. It's 97 pages. It's just about 48,000 words. And what we do is we tear out pieces from the document here and here and here. We break out pieces. We drop them into Photoshop as PDFs. We're currently working on this one over here. If I can get my zoom on. It's a clunky document. It's 97 pages. But yeah, here's the Word document that we're using. And then we export as PDFs. We drop the PDFs into Photoshop, and then we can specifically tear out this illustration here, align it with the top left right corner, so that when we drop it here into Photoshop, we can insert a shape like that, and then just insert that image into that box. And as long as I know how large this image is, I can make this this box specifically shape format. I can go in here and go to size and see. You can see the breakdown of the size over here. I can break down the size to be the exact size of whatever this cutout ends up being. Drop it in there, and then it'll sync. And then just set the background to transparent, and then it'll automatically sync perfectly with the page. So super freaking easy to do this shit. And I use Photoshop. I mean, granted, you could use GIMP instead if you wanted to use freeware, but most people have access to Microsoft Word or one way or another. So I find it's a really useful page layout program that makes it, you know, easy and approachable. So we have a 20-minute timer on the clock. So we spend about 20 minutes on each illustration that we're working on, and I am tickled pink to have this beholder tyrant ship chasing after this small fleet of allies running away. As well they should. You should totally run away from beholders. That is, they are the worst news you could ever ask. But yeah, huge 5e enthusiast, not a huge, huge 5e enthusiast, huge Spelljammer enthusiast, not a huge Spelljammer in 5e enthusiast. So I wanted to rebuild it so it's more fun. And after a bunch of playtesting, it's a lot of fun. So cheers. I think honestly, that's just a silly little illustration. Hopefully when we flesh it out a little bit better, it'll look good. But that's what we do. We kick through the document in waves. So we want to have loose sketches on each page. So I don't want to get too far ahead of another because it overcommits me to one particular piece. Like for example, this is a playlist that we're building here. So like if I go back to like say episode 30, around episode 30 or so, I want to say, we had let's see. Tokens, trash, cover. Here's a full color illustration that we had produced that is like overclocking most of the other stuff that we have in here. But I built this back, I want to say like episode 30 of 37, something like that. So great fun piece, but like if I were to do this level of quality for like 40 pieces of art, I won't be done until next year. So I got to be picky and choosy about how much depth and quality do I add to each piece. So like these little spot vignettes, they're fantastic because these are still shitty. But after I go through the wave, I can do like decent line art for each of them and then assess how much color do I need to have in each of them. Like if I were to drop this into full color, like this, it would make the page unbalanced because there would be a lot of color intensity in this corner, but nowhere else on the page. So I have to continuously balance how much pixel information am I providing on each of them so that everything feels good. So you can have a mix of light illustration or like light grayscale toning and stuff, versus like when you have like a huge set piece like this that's designed to just like eat the page, So that's what we balance against. And then of course we did the book cover that if you catch me on Discord anywhere or see me around, Here's the cover that we built back like around episode 15 of the Spelljammer playlist that we're working on. So I want to do some work on these tentacles. I think I want to add some material texture to these, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that when we're bored doing stuff like this. But, blip. So yeah, that's where we're at here. I'm going to save this piece, and I'm going to drop this out. So going back into our document, you can see we have the weight breakdown of the difference between vessels and crafts. Crafts are much smaller than vessels. And then we have a gray box here showing an example of how you break down the cargo capacity of a particular ship. Here we're using the carrying capacity of a Star Moth. So God willing, the carry capacity and everything is still accurate. If it's not, I'll have to adjust it. Hold on, Star Moth, 8320, yep. 8320, 720. The cargo capacity is the carry limit minus the weight of the ship itself. That is where you end with the cargo capacity, like a ship in the sea, like a galleon. The old 500-foot galleons, they would be able to carry 500 tons of cargo, but themselves they also weighed 500 tons. So that's where we extrapolated the idea about composite material in general. 10 tons per 5 feet of carrying space, right? 1,000 tons at 500 feet kind of matches. So 10 tons per 5 feet of space for these larger vessels, and then the composite material is a break between tons 5 and 5 split, as opposed to like ceramic or like light, like very light wood. It weighs very little, has a lot of cargo space. So anyway, that's the breakdown there. So we have a quick breakdown, and then we point you off in different directions to go find the stuff. By clicking on links to go further down in the document to find out specifics about like the weight limits of ballistas, mangonels, and like ton of ammo. Like, what does all that mean? What does the weight of a lifestyle mean on a ship? Like wealthy, like if you have a wealthy or an aristocratic lifestyle, you generally have more stuff. It's cozier. You got more throw pillars and paintings and stuff on the wall. That adds weight to your ship and has a cost to maintain. Like pickled truffles is more expensive than dry tack, you know, so for your rations. So it has a different weight that it carries. So lifestyle becomes important aboard your ship, because once your ship's lifestyle gets down to a point where there's no food on it, it's basically a squalid condition of living, your team, your crew could rebel, could mutiny, demanding that they go get better supplies or get off the ship or get paid more, or maybe make a risky attack on something. That we have all those mechanics and rules down below. So right now we're just dotting in little pieces, right? White space is important in a document. You don't want to have too much information, because if you have 100 pages of dense visual material, it's going to exhaust the eye. They won't be able to absorb the material as well. Illustrations are great because they engage a different part of the brain. The text is a document. It's a textbook. It's a technical manual on how to depict space in your mind as imagination. But creating illustrations and fun imagery gives your mind an opportunity to imagine ideas that you're playing with. So I'm going to leave this space blank because it's just a little pocket of transition point between these different grayscale areas. But I have this nice little blot down here that I can do things with. So the idea that that's been floating around in my head here is get some hammer ships going here. Hold on real quick. I don't remember how many sails a hammerhead ship has, so... Oh, it only has one sail up front. Okay.
this little school of hammerhead shark ships flying in a fleet together. It's so fun. Take this one, cut it out, drop it in like that. And then I'll give you another one. Take another one like this, maybe. Again, just rough sketching right now. This cool little school of hammer sharks, right? Then first one, get the tilt on properly there. That, and then like that. Make a timely timer, keep in time. So you have these hammer sharks that are pulling. Maybe you get it. It's they're towing an asteroid. This is a fun little spoiler for anybody that pays attention to this channel. I'll have a link to this playlist on the product page of this once it publishes on the DMsGuild. But one of the things that I like is if you're familiar with Lazaraxis, spoiler alert, I'll give you like 3, 2, 1 to go away if you don't want to hear about Lazaraxis. But what I like, my thought about that adventure is there's this asteroid citadel that you're supposed to land on and engage with at the end of the adventure to save the world by going to this asteroid base and convincing the people to stop destroying your world. And you bring this, you gather this armada of this fleet of coalition ships that hate these world-destroying elves, and the adventure basically has you use that fleet to engage the elf fleet and push that to the background, so your characters can, floppy elbowed run up and hang out on the asteroid and try to diplomat at the elves. But the way that we run the campaign, what you can do is that coalition can all tether a giant asteroid together, and your initial pitch to the elves to stop attacking the rest of the worlds is to throw a giant asteroid at their asteroid base. And we have mechanics on massive object collisions. So if you take a 200-ton object and launch it at an asteroid, and it hits the castle, the Emperor's castle, and you destroy the palace, the Imperial Palace. If you destroy the Imperial Palace, or the Zarax's temple, or their college, or their navy dock, if you just lob this massive asteroid at it and just like wipe it off of their planet, then you can start negotiating from a position of power. So you can have your coalition tether a giant rock and haul it and just let it go. And because if you do that, the Elven Armada is going to have to stop that asteroid instead of attacking you. And you have about 10 rounds before that asteroid smashes whatever it is that you pointed at. So you have that opportunity to break that thing off. But I mean, you kind of have to wait for the asteroid to hit before you decide to go in and negotiate. Because if you land on the asteroid first and start having that conversation, then you could be destroyed too. But this is a great way to distract the fleet if it's proven to be too tough. Anyway, no one's going to know that unless they hang out on the stream, because I don't actually have it in the book. But these mechanic breakdowns of how much you can tow allows you to, per 5 feet, and each one of these hammer ships is 250 feet, so they can tow. You've got like 30 of these. You can tow a shitload of weight with them. So you can get a large enough object to destroy shit on the Zarax's Imperial Citadel. Kind of fun. Anyway, you can go ahead and tuck that one away as a reference point. But it's time for us to move on to the next document. But like I said, that should sit pretty nicely on the page. So I can drop that down there, and this goes against that general principle of having things point in one direction. I'm gonna see what happens if I flip this, and then we'll move on to the next page. Yeah, I just don't think that looks as good. I mean, maybe I'm biased because of which side I started on. Let's try a tilt. What does that do? I also want to be mindful of the margins. So I could perspective. Almost there. Stay on target. We'll move on to the next piece in a moment. I'm just futzing with stuff. Fucking hey, man. This thing's already just cooking so good. I'm going to tilt that just a bit. Like if I wanted to, I could grab this text and pull it up like this if I needed to. Like if I end up needing to eat this space down here, I can do that. Like I can move this text where the fuck I want, right? Because I built the thing. So, but if it comes to that, it comes to that. So we might end up doing, blocking that off. And we have that much control. So like we could go into this document here and nudge it if we needed to. We don't need to yet, but we can. So save. I mean, granted, it's kind of silly to say, hey, here's how you build a PDF, like here's how you build a document, but most of the people that are going to watch this have like no idea how to make artwork, so I know there's a limit there. That I've got a very well developed set of skills to be able to do this sort of work in general anyway. But this is why you would hire this. You know, this is why you would hire an illustrator. Like, this is the kind of crap that we can do. I'm not advertising myself. I build my own books so I can set my own price point on work that I do. But there's a lot of people out there that would be willing to do things like that you can hire on. So let's see, ship statistics. We're looking at resistances and immunities, hit points. Again, we have the ship material. This is an earlier page, right? This is page 8 as opposed to page 9 and 10 that we were looking at. So I'm actually working forward in the document. That's page 9. Here we are, page 10, right? We have this blank spot here, but this is actually referencing the gravity planes and air envelopes that we had looked at in previous. So what I need to do is I actually want to let's make a grid. That's what I want to do. Pixels. There. That's a 100 pixel box, right? So now it's a 100 pixel black box. Now I can grab it like that, and I can select, modify, contract by 1 pixel, and then delete. I now have a 1 pixel frame in my 100 pixel space, which I can now copy. Ooh la la, isn't that tiny? So I click those two things together like that, and then I can merge them, and then I can duplicate that layer. And then I can merge those and then duplicate. We're building the grid. Down. And duplicate the layer. So I'll end up trimming off this bottom edge here when we're done. But I can duplicate. I can now create this grid and just have it push across the entire space. We'll be done in, we got about 27 minutes left on the block. There, nice frame. See, we can move this space around inside of that as we need to, but now we can All right, so this page is talking about ship properties, right? Gravity planes. So while planets have spherical gravity, ships and small objects have gravity planes, which doesn't radiate from a point, but rather from a plane that cuts horizontally through the object and extends out as far as its air envelope. An object's gravity plane is two-directional. A creature can stand upright on the bottom of a hull, upside down from the perspective of those on the top deck of the ship, and move around as easily as if walking on the top deck. One of the unusual properties of the object, blah, blah, blah. I'm just pulling that text from directly out of the WotC book. When objects in the astral sea and wild space touch, their gravity naturally synchronize along a common plane. More details about gravity planes are provided in the combat and exploration sections below, which is true. Air envelopes. The gravity plane of objects naturally hold breathable air around objects and creatures traversing wild space. SC&E, the Spelljammer Combat and Exploration book that we're building currently, simplifies the envelope of breathable air that forms around an object as filling the space the object occupies. For example, a small or medium creature's air envelope fills the 5-foot space it occupies, while a huge creature's air envelope fills the 15-foot space it occupies. Similarly, a massive creature that occupies a 50-foot space has an air envelope that fills the 50-foot space it occupies. All creatures' own air supply envelopes deplete after 1 minute. I could probably word that better. Ships and massive objects provide much more breathable air. A spelljamming vessel has an air envelope filling a 500-foot gravity plane, filling the 500-foot gravity plane the helm generates, providing enough breathable air for 100 medium or smaller creatures for 100 days. A spelljamming craft has an air envelope filling the 50-foot gravity plane, the helm, the minor, I should probably put in the minor helm. The minor helm. We have a difference up here. between major and minor helms. So major helms generate a 500-foot gravity well, or a gravity plane that you can then put a ship up to 500 feet inside of. And when you attach the spell jamming helm to the ship, it synchronizes that ship with the helm. So now you have that 500-foot gravity plane that then holds a big bubble of air. Even though your ship isn't filling that 500-foot space bubble, it could. You just wouldn't have any margin of error. See, that's the thing. The reason why they generally don't have ships that are larger than 250 feet is because if somebody falls off the edge of the ship and the ship fills up the entire 500-foot space, as soon as they fall off the ship, poof, woo, I'm out of my gravity well. If you have a smaller ship that has a larger air bubble, it allows things to fall off and traipse along with it. So if you accidentally drop something, it's still going to travel along in your gravity plane for an extended period of time. So you can recover stuff. So you can prevent accidents from happening. The larger the ship, the less margin of error there is for you, the more dangerous it is for you to fall off the vessel. And then there's also costs. If you're like 100,000 gold pieces for a metal ship that's 250 feet, it would be 200,000 gold pieces to create that ship if it's 500 feet long. So it's huge. So you have to, they scale down the ships to be able to cost, and then they have the type of helm that accommodates the air bubble that they need to. Like, you can't have a minor helm on a vessel. A vessel is over 50 feet in size. A minor helm, a craft, is 50 feet or less. So you can have a major helm on a craft. It would have a huge bubble, but you can do it. But you can't have a minor helm propel a vessel, because the ship the minor helm only creates a 50-foot bubble. So you'd have a shitload of ship sticking out of the bubble that you wouldn't be able to push because it doesn't have a gravity plane anymore. It'd just be dead in space. So that's why you have the two minor helms. They move slower, they're a smaller scale, but they're cheap in comparison to a major helm, which is expensive. It's already expensive to build the ships. So you bolt on the major helm to be able to push that much space. That's the idea that's involved with that. It's players. I mean, that is something that can be ignored. If that, like everything in this book, you can take and pick from. Like, if you don't like the idea of major helms versus minor helms, but you love the idea of craft and vessels, you can just have one generic spell jamming helm and use the air bubble and gravity plane mechanics from the Wizards of the Coast book that they just produced. Or you can use the second edition version if you want to. The conversion still works for the towing capacity and all that other stuff for the vessels. It's just a matter of, do you want this level of granular differences? It's a deeper level of detail than what Wizards provided, so it's optional. It's not required if you want to go with as trite a content as Wizards has provided. But if you want more depth using 5th edition, as far as I know, I haven't seen any other things published yet other than 2nd edition that goes into this level of depth of like magical physics involving space travel. So that alone makes it worth it to people that are craving more mechanical detail to at least explore the document, if not purchase it. So, but again, all my stuff is 100% free preview. So after you read through the whole 97 pages, if it doesn't click for you, then hey, thanks for investing some time and looking at some cool pictures. I don't blame you for not purchasing it. But it will resonate with a number of people, and that is where that willingness to share what you have, so that people can, like, I was 12. I talk about this, but I was 12 when I started playing D&D, and that was back in the 80s, 90s. I'd go to the mall and hang out at the bookstore and read D&D books, and then accumulate lawn mowing money. And at the end of that process, I would be able to buy a book, and I'd show up every weekend, to hang out for a couple hours reading books. They were cool with it. So I was a consistent purchaser, and I started buying all my Dragonlance books there, and my Forgotten Realms books there. It's like it was worth their time investing in me, being there, not causing a problem, and exploring content, so that when new content came out, they knew I was going to buy it. So that's just good stewardship, and this is me passing that forward. So anyway, yada yada. So we have these ideas about air bubbles, right? And we laid down some of the mechanics about how these things work. And so I wanted to create this grid here so that we would be able to, like, say, get this out of the way, equals no. Like I could grab this damselfly, for instance, and I could duplicate that group. And I could take that. Look at that. Look how pretty you've calibrated to my grid already, huh? Yes, you have. Maybe damselfly is not the best example. Maybe we go with we'll go with the squid ship. Squid is pretty iconic. Oopsie doo. as big as I made it? Nah, I could add more. Right on. Anyway, here for now. I still got a little bit of time left. Not much, but some. That's going to be enough. I gotta say, I'm really digging that I'm using the same gray. What the? Let's do this instead, shall we? Nope. Let's do it like. Yeah, let's do it like that. Yeah. This gray that I'm using here is the same gray that we use in the background. This 200 pixel, this 200 gray tone and 200 gray tone for the boxes. Like, it all uses that same RGB. So I like that. Craft tokens. Oh, what's a fun token to grab? The arrow. Cuttlefish. Cuttlefish is cool. Manta ray. Flitter. Whew, man, the flitter's pretty. Maybe the flitter. Yeah. See, this is a 50-foot scale. Each one of these squares is 50 feet. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On point. There. That's how a 250 foot. This is a 250 foot long vessel. This is a 500 foot air bubble. You can see how the air fills that. If I were to have a 500 foot vessel, this is how it would sit inside of that air bubble. But how did you? Just a little bit of the tips stick out from the outside of the air bubble. But this is a craft, so and a craft can fill, a minor helm can fill a 50-foot square, a 50-foot space within air bubble. So, I mean, technically, circles are squares in D&D, but I'm just doing this to illustrate the point. 5, 10, so this is 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. So that's 50 feet, 50 feet. This is the extent that a minor craft. This is a 10 by 10 craft that fills the space of the minor helm. But this would only be get that down to 2 pixels. I'll probably end up flopping this, like flipping it, but it's all symmetrical, so it doesn't really matter. And then we can this is not going to stay. I'm just making temporary placeholders here. And then we'll put like pictures of people, you know. Like a gargantuan creature, like this is the 5-foot scale of a gargantuan creature, right? Like a dragon or some shit. It fits in a 4x4 space. But that can, you know, come over here and just like ruffle stomp all over this, but it'd be tiny in comparison to that. So we can have, you know, we can depict air pockets this way. And I can... But that'll be our... Once we build the thing, we figure out how we want to do it. but this is our rough. We're just doing rough drafts right now, but this is like diagrams like this provides technical information that helps inform the document overall. And it's a lot lighter lift. Like I can use D&D, like I can, there are that is our time for the day. So there are multiple assets that are available to us on the DMsGuild as art packs of various creatures that I can just drop in here. I don't have to make my own Ankheg, for instance. I can just take a huge size Ankheg and drop it in here to illustrate a huge size creature. So I can do that for all these things, like an elf and like a horse and like a hill giant and like a dragon. And you can see how those things stack up in comparison in size here. So that's the thought process that goes on there. But we are out of time for the day, so I'm going to hit save here. None of these things are done yet, but you can see that these are works in progress. So we are going to... Don't need to save that. Don't need to save that for now. No. Okay, we got some stuff happening in my household that may or may not allow me to be on stream tomorrow or Friday. I might be back on Saturday. It could be Monday before I'm back on again. Just had some things come up that's going to require some attention. I don't know if I'm going to be on in the morning or on Thursday evening as I normally would. It's a disruption in my schedule. Life is what life needs to do, and I need to adapt to that. But once my plate is clear and I'm able to go back to streaming, I will certainly do so. I'll probably have some time to work on some stuff off screen. Maybe we'll see. But I have to pause here until my normal routine resumes. No later than Monday. So I may be back tomorrow, or Friday, or Saturday, definitely by Monday. So when I get to be back on stream again, hopefully I'll see you guys then. So like, subscribe, hit the bell, check out the books in the description down below. If you think they're cool, consider purchasing some of them. Be welcome to follow me on Twitter at Phil Kearney. If you know where I'm at on the Discards, give me a shout out, and I will see you guys as soon as I can. So laters for now. Bye.